Well, I'm going to take credit for this one. Things turned out exactly as I suggested. The House has been in chaos. And of course, that's largely the Democrats' doing. That was their decision to side with Matt Gaetz. Matt Gaetz was obviously attempting to stir the pot in with good reason. And Democrats thought that the chaos would benefit them. But exactly as I said, there's no calm without a storm. We are now experiencing the calm after the storm. Sometimes a little bit of chaos is a good thing. I mean, what's the alternative? Just endless status quo and no change? Just a static Washington that never really accomplishes anything for anyone? That cannot be an acceptable alternative. Chaos here was necessary, and boy, did it end up paying off in the end. The request was simple. Kevin McCarthy did not deliver on his mandate, and so he must be replaced with a real conservative. It was looking good with Jim Jordan getting very close to that finish line. Then there was talk of Byron Donalds, but obviously, Byron Donalds would be great for the job, but he's a little bit of a new face, a little bit of a freshman, so it makes sense that he wouldn't get the position. Then the Kevin McCarthy faction tried pushing this Tom Emmer clown. Obviously, that backfired. Then, out of nowhere, Mike Johnson's name appears and wins the speakership. Just like that, and I have to say I'm pleasantly surprised this might have actually been best case scenario. This guy is sharp, he's a beast, he is a true constitutional conservative, a true America First patriot. The left is now panicking over the new Republican speaker, and what does that tell you? It tells you that that's probably a good thing. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. Alright folks, so they tried, man. They tried. Kevin McCarthy even seemed at one point as if he was trying to wiggle his way back into the seat. They ended up going with Tom Emmer, basically McCarthy light, an absolute clown who seems to vote for like any bill that shows up in front of him. Oh, endless spending for Ukraine. Oh, I'm a yes on that. Marjorie Taylor Greene hit the nail on the head with this little Tom Emmer guy. Today I voted against Tom Emmer on all rounds of voting, including the spoken roll call vote, because he has a voting record that I cannot support. He voted for the Democrat gay marriage bill, voted with Democrats to overturn President Trump's transgender military ban, voted for every penny of Ukraine funding, and at one time supported the Soros National Popular Vote Scheme and voted to certify Joe Biden's 2020 election. We need a Republican speaker that reflects the values of Republican voters that can lead our conference. That's a 10 out of 10 tweet right over there. Tom Emmer failed, and then Mike Johnson, who seems to be like the complete polar opposite, in other words, a real conservative, with a strong voting record. If Hakeem Jeffries is going on C-SPAN fear-mongering with nonsense like this.
When you look at today, you're about to go take this vote. There's these rumblings that maybe today they will have the numbers. What can you tell us about that? Obviously, you don't want to scoop yourself. We'll go follow it today. But what can you tell us about that, about your working relationship with their newest nominee, their potential speaker?
Well, Mike Johnson, who's their newest nominee, has a very pleasant demeanor in terms of how he communicates, but his voting record is as extreme as the most extreme members of their conference, with very few exceptions. And I think, what we'll see is that if they are able to get to the number they need to get to today, 217, that Mike Johnson is someone who, like Kevin McCarthy, like Steve Scalise, like Jim Jordan, voted to overturn the 2020 presidential election. That Mike Johnson, similar to all of those individuals, has a track record of trying to undermine Social Security and Medicare and end these incredibly important things that are connected to the fabric of our country and end them as we know it. That Mike Johnson, probably more so than almost any other member of the House Republican Conference, wants to criminalize abortion care and impose a nationwide ban. So later on today, we'll make clear that we will continue to forcefully push back against that extremism.
Well, then that probably means that Mike Johnson is the real deal. An extreme voting record. Oh, extreme. This is what they're labeling as extreme, by the way. He signed the Texas amicus brief, objected to the certification of electoral college votes in one or more states, made false and or irresponsible public statements against the democratic system. What the hell does that even mean? Voted against impeachment or conviction of Donald Trump for inciting an insurrection. You mean he upheld the law and the Constitution? Okay. Voted against creating an independent commission to investigate the January 6th attack. Based. voted against holding Steve Bannon in contempt of Congress, based, voted in favor of the Ukraine Democracy Defense Lend-Lease Act of 2022, which allowed the lending/lease of American defense material to Ukraine, voted against the 2022 Ukraine Supplemental Appropriation, voted in favor of Amendment 21 to H.R. 2670, the National Defense Authorization Act, which would have stricken $300 million of assistance for Ukraine, voted in favor of Amendment 22 to the same bill, which would have prohibited all security assistance for Ukraine, voted in favor of Amendment 25 to the same bill, which would have removed the extension of Lend-Lease authority to Ukraine, voted against H.R. 5692, Ukraine Security Assistance and Oversight Supplemental Appropriations Act of 2023, made an anti-Ukraine statement or statements. Ooh, spooky! Yeah, in other words, he's got a solid track record. He's also a great troll, releasing stuff to his social media like this. He also called for Nancy Pelosi to be arrested after she tore up Donald Trump's speech during the State of the Union.
So you were obviously watching there at the State of the Union. When you saw the speaker rip the president's speech into pieces, did you take that as a sign of politeness, as an expression of kindness and friendship?
No, of course not. I mean, it was a shameful display. It was stunning, really, to many members sitting in the House. It was totally unprecedented. It was shameless, and it was also unlawful, Tucker. A lot of people have been talking about this the last 48 hours, and I did a little legal memo to point out to my colleagues that she actually committed a felony when she tore that paper up. It wasn't just any copy of the State of the Union address. It was the copy, the original. And we have over 2 centuries of custom and tradition, and of course the Constitution that calls for the State of the Union address, that when the president delivers the copies to those top legal officers, the 2 top legislative officers in that co-equal branch of government, those are the official documents of the House, and if you tear those up, you violated a specific statute in the criminal code.
In other words, he's kind of a beast, and he's already promising to devote his speakership to actual conservative legislation. Oh, and here's his stance on impeaching Joe Biden.
Article 1, Section 2 of the Constitution itself expressly states that the sole power of impeachment belongs here to this House. And then Article 2, Section 4 says, listen to the language carefully, it's expressly written in the Constitution. This is not political talking points, we're not making this up. It says in Article 2, Section 4, that the president shall be removed from office on impeachment for and conviction of treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors. My friends, I just listed just a small sampling, just the tip of the iceberg of the credible allegations and the mounting evidence that shows that Joseph Biden has engaged in bribery schemes, pay-to-play schemes. This is what the evidence shows. We have to follow it. We took an oath to uphold the Constitution. The Constitution requires this action. The inquiry is the appropriate step. We have no choice to pursue the facts wherever they lead, and we will leave no stone unturned.
The guy is a beast. I like him. He's been a little bit of a silent assassin, but to me, honestly, that's a good thing. It means that he's not in it for the name recognition, the fame, the celebrity status, the media tours, yada, yada, yada. He's in it, I guess, to deliver results and do a good job. That's exactly what's needed for the failure that was Kevin McCarthy. And after all of it, after all the chaos, after all the supposed dysfunction, Matt Gaetz has been totally vindicated. The Wall Street Journal just wrote this: Matt Gaetz sees vindication in a Mike Johnson win, which Matt Gaetz then took a snippet of and released to his Twitter. Absolutely, this is a huge, huge win for conservatives everywhere. Real conservatives. Finally, there is a leader willing to stand up to Nancy Pelosi's abuse of power. I guess now it's probably going to be Hakeem Jeffries' abuse of power. You have an individual leading the House who isn't just a globalist shill willing to sign over American riches to whatever the proxy war of the week is. The Republican speaker seems to be somebody devoted to bringing down spending and making Washington a more responsible place in terms of spending your money. And so it's the calm after the storm. Democrats are complaining, but Democrats literally did this to themselves. They got rid of Kevin McCarthy hoping for something bad, at least something bad for Republicans, but instead what they got was probably their worst nightmare. They got a Trump-adjacent, America-first, real constitutional conservative, and now all of a sudden they're panicking over his extreme voting track record. Once again, my message to Democrats:
it's called congratulations, you played yourself.
This is a huge, massive win, and hopefully another signal suggesting we are heading heading into a great conservative age. Absolutely lovely. Anyways, that's pretty much the video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe. Thanks for watching, folks, and I'll see you on the next one.